What's up, guys? This is Pedro from My Stuttering Life. On this podcast, we are going to talk about our challenges and our triumphs, and so that anyone around the world can truly know that you are not alone. So let's get started. This is episode number 140, and my special guest is Ignacio Dela Cruz, a native of Saipan in the northern Marianas Islands. Ignacio is a current speech-language pathologist. Prior to his role as an SLP, Ignacio taught special education and preschool and represented his home at different conferences. Ignacio has degrees from the University of Guam and San Jose State University. Ignacio is pursuing a doctorate in speech-language pathology at Rocky Mountain University of Health Professions. I am honored to have him as a guest with me on the My Stuttering Life podcast. Welcome, Ignacio Dela Cruz.
Yes, and hello to everyone who is viewing this. I am so happy to be here. It's important for all of us to feel part of this community worldwide. I know, and I'll explain more about this as we go along. I know that sometimes, and I felt this many times before, where I felt like I was the only one in the universe who stutters. And I always felt like, Lord, why did this happen to me? And so seeing things like this, my stuttering life, it helps me know that, you know what, there's a support system out there for us. And we don't have to feel alone.
See, and that is awesome. And thank you. Okay, now I am in Texas, and where are you right now?
So I am on the other side of the world. Actually, so to put things into perspective, it's 6 p.m. in Texas now. But where I'm at in Saipan, we're near the Philippines, right above Australia. It is now 9:00 in the morning. So good. So in that case, good morning to everyone, where you are from Saipan. And as we say here, half a day. That's sort of like our way of saying aloha and hey y'all, and I've always been a fan of that Southern twang, so I love hearing that. I've always wanted to visit the South, so perhaps one day, and I hope to get that Southern twang.
Well, let me tell you, you will be hearing it, a lot, and so I want to welcome you. This is a huge honor. We have a lot of topics to go over, so let's get started. Alrighty. Do you remember when you first began to stutter?
Oh, that's okay. Pedro, I have to dig really deep into my psyche. Yes, I remember when I was 5 years old. I remember my aunt visiting our house, and I remember she was asking me some questions about I don't know what, and I remember I don't remember what she asked me. For the life of me, I don't remember. All I remember was that my jaw was locking. I remember I couldn't breathe because I couldn't speak. And I remember her eyes on me, just looking at me. And I guess that was the earliest memory that I have of a really bad stutter. And even though I was 5 years old at the time, I overheard my aunt and my mom talking about, "Hey, are you going to get help for him?" I didn't know what they were talking about then, but I understood it as I grew up. They were talking about, is my mom going to get help for my speech? And I didn't realize it then at five, maybe 6 years old, but I understood it as I grew up. And then of course, along the way, I'm 30 years old now. Along the way, of course, there have been many, 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 many memories of both mild and really difficult moments of my stutter. Yeah, but that one moment when I was around 5 or 6 is the earliest that I could remember. It's been said that trauma is stored in our sympathetic or sympathetic. I forgot what it's called. I'm not in the medical field, but it's stored in that part of our nervous system, and sometimes I could still feel that trauma of those moments, if that makes sense.
I guess it does. I thank you for that. And then, does it run in your family? Are there any other family members who have a stutter?
I didn't learn about this until much later, but one of the, and as a speech pathologist now, I ask the same questions. Does your child's communication needs run in your family? I remember when I was talking with my mom about it, she said that the speech pathologist who had worked with me asked them all sorts of questions, like, was he ever abused? Which I would never ask that. Was he ever abused? Was he ever injured on his head? Those sort of things. And one of the questions was, are there any relatives in your family who stutter? And I asked my mom that. I said, so what did you say? What did you respond? And my mom said, well, not on my side, most likely maybe on your dad's side, but we're not for sure. But yeah, we just suspect that it's in my dad's side. We just are not certain. But yes, I was born with it. And so the most likely cause is that for me, it's developmental, meaning I got it through my genes. This is just how I was born. Yeah. And so as far as I know, that's the cause of my stutter is through my genes. Mm-hmm.
And so you were talking about the help. And so I want to ask you the official question. So have you ever had speech therapy? And if you did, was it helpful?
Oh, I did. Thanks be. Yes, I did. I finally received speech therapy in the fourth grade. And again, at the time, there was this whole stigma of being pulled out of your gen ed class and going into the resource room. Some places call it something else, but for me, I call it the resource room, where students get pulled out for their special ed supports. And I was pulled out and brought to that room. And so, of course, there was that stigma. So, of course, I felt that shame. But in retrospect, I thank God that I received those services, because it was through those services, I'll tell you, that my confidence grew. That my confidence really grew, and I became more comfortable with who I am and with the tools that I learned through therapy. I just learned to manage my speech. I learned to I learned to just get a good handle on my speech. Had it not been for those services, I don't want to think where I would be. I don't want to think where I would have ended up. Because the way that some people say, oh, you're so confident. Well, thank you. But it took years of therapy and self acceptance to to get to where I am now, and which led me to my current role as a speech language pathologist. Because I in turn, every time I share my story, I was on both sides of the therapy desk. I was the client receiving services. Now I'm the professional who provides said service. So I've come full circle.
You have, and then also, you hit on, two issues. The first one is stigma. And so I have to tell you, Ignacio Dela Cruz, when I was in school in 1975, how I got pulled out of school is we had the PA speakers in each of our rooms. And in 1975, I was called out once a week into the principal's office, and that is where I had speech, therapy. And when I heard my name over the PAs, and then I had to go to speech therapy, I mean, when I tell you, all eyes were on me. I mean, come on, school is hard enough, and here you had this on there. It's like, okay, thank you, life, thank you, school, and PAs. And then also you had touched on how speech therapy had helped you in all aspects. However, it had helped you greatly in your confidence. And so I have to tell you, Ignacio, I've had 20 years of speech therapy. And so what you are hearing is 20 years. Well, I don't have to tell you, is really hard work, because how I had acquired my stutter is at 5 years old. I was attacked by a dog, walking home from school, and my head hit the concrete sidewalk, and so for a whole year afterwards, I could not speak. I did not have speech at all. However, I was put into speech therapy, and so 20 years of really hard work. That is what you are hearing, right now. And, I appreciated all of the help in speech, therapy, because, I learned, I learned a bunch of, techniques to, help me out. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am, I am grateful. And so, yeah. Okay, now, so here is a big question. So are you ready, Ignacio? This is a big question. And so I got to hold it up because it's big. All right. So do you have any advice for parents, teachers, and SLPs with regards to children who stutter?
Yeah. I am a person who stutters, but I was also a teacher. And as an SLP now, I can say the biggest advice that I can give to professionals, to families, is just give them time. Give them time to finish their words, because we all know what we want to say. That's the thing about for us persons who stutter. We know exactly what we want to say. No doubt about that. It's not the messaging that we're having a hard time with. It's the delivery. And so we just ask for your grace, for your time. And as soon as we get it, we deliver that message, we're good, and we move on. At least what I've experienced. Just give me the time. I try not to focus more. I try not to focus more on the delivery of my own speech. I try to think I have something to teach everybody. That's the mindset I put in my head to help me get through it. That, hey, whatever I say is worth hearing and worth saying. So you know what? I'm going to say it twice. I'm going to say it twice. And I'm going to take my sweet tea time to get it out, because I think it's worth saying. And it's these little motivators that help me. Cause sometimes I'll tell you this, sometimes you got to be your own cheer squad. Because no one else would do it for you. It's great when you begin to network and to make real relationships, and make those connections with the world, that you start to get your support system. But there are moments where you're basically left alone at sea, or you're lost, but you have to be your own cheer squad. And I had to do that many times, even to this day. I have to self-motivate myself. I have to self-motivate, because that's how I get through not just difficult times with my speech, but just difficult times overall. And I know that, and when I was reading one of the questions, I don't know if I should jump ahead or if I should just go ahead and talk about it. But one of the things that helped me through difficult days is I just tell myself, you know what? It was not a good day. It was not a good day. Whether that had anything to do with my speech or what, but I just tell myself that I didn't have a good day. But you know what? Here's the thing. The sun will come up tomorrow, whether we like it or not. Tomorrow will be a new 24-hour cycle. We start fresh. And yes, even up to this day as a speech path, there are days where I wouldn't be able to talk as fluently as I want to, or as best I could. Like, there were days where I was just like exhausted. Not because I was running around from site to site, because I work remotely, but because it just drained the energy out of me to get my words out. And I think of my stutter not as an enemy, not as an adversary, not as a wall, but as a friend. And I had to develop this mindset over years that my stutter is my friend. And my friend is next to me. Sometimes, just like with all the friends that we have, sometimes our friends can get on our nerves, right? I mean, I'm sure we all have friends who get on our nerves. my stutter is that friend who some days, hey, we are peachy keen, we are just two peas in a pod, and there are days where I want to pillow fight my stutter because it got on my nerves and it just hindered my day. But I always keep in mind that, you know what, I got this far. We all got this far in life, but not to just get this far. And so I've always told myself that, you know what, tomorrow's a new day. Just try again. Try again. And that's what I do to get myself through those difficult moments.
See, and that is a great advice because I mean, you hit it right on the head. I mean, from the moment that I wake up until the moment I lay my head on my pillow, every organ in my body is tense, because I block, I repeat, yes. I don't have any oxygen, I don't breathe, my eyes close. And I don't have to tell you all day long, that is exhausting. It is exhausting. However, I tell myself, look, okay, so you had a rough day. You know what? It is behind you now, and tomorrow is a whole new day. And so, yes. And so that is, a great advice. And so I thank you for that. I thank you.
And if I may say, I'm so happy to be speaking with someone who knows exactly what it feels like.
You are my people. You are my tribe.
It feels so good to hear it from not me, not myself, but hear it from someone who goes through the same thing every day. There are days. As I said, there are days where I would just lie down on my bed and I'm just like, okay, the day's done. I can kind of take a nap because that was hard. But yet there are days where I'm like, I can talk a marathon. I can talk someone's ears off because I feel great. But there are days where I'm like, and I don't know if this goes for anyone else, but sometimes the way we feel too is like if we're down about something or if we're tired at the beginning of the day, we're just not feeling our 100%. That plays that plays a factor in our speech. Well, at least for me. If I feel like, I just feel like it's not going to be a good day, that weighs on my mind, which then affects the way my fluency is. I'm not sure if anyone feels that same way, but at least it does for me. Yeah.
See, and here is how I handle that. Because believe me, Ignacio, I get those on the daily. And so how I handle it is, every time that I wake up, I go into the bathroom. I have a huge mirror. Mm-hmm. And so I look at myself, I look into my eyes and tell myself, this is going to be a good day. This is going to be an awesome day. I know what I have to do, and it's going to be a great day. And so I do that every day. It works, 9 times out of 10, but yeah. It's how I, it is how I handle life. So yeah, I truly believe in that.
Oh, okay. Yes, and I do the same thing with
yes.
with Zoom. Yes, I do the same thing with Zoom. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, now I want to talk about our jobs. Had you ever had any a type of a discrimination on the job, due to your speech?
Thankfully, I have not. Not in the job, and anyway, in other settings, yes. And if you like, I can explain more about that. But specifically on the job, thankfully, no. The throughout all the jobs that I've worked in, and I am not ashamed to share that I have a disfluency, and I've disclosed that to to everyone that I work with, that just bear with me. And in one of your previous podcasts, I forgot who the guest was, but he talked about the disclosure method, and I do that now. But before, I would be filled with shame. But now I'm like, you know what? I just want to let you know that if I stumble on my words or stutter on my words, I ask for your grace. I can do it. I ask for your grace, and I get it done. I always have this thought that just get the job done. Get the job done. I'm capable of getting the job done. My speech is not going to interfere with me being the best professional that I can be, being as effective as I can be. And so back to my earlier point where I said that my stutter is a friend and not a wall or a block, because I have my mind set on, I'm going to get the job done. I'm going to get the job done. And if I need to stumble on my words and be open about it, then you know what? There are worse things in life. Stumbling on my words, stuttering on my words is not that. It's part of who I am, similar to the way that we wouldn't discriminate someone based on race, based on a religious belief, based on, where they are on the socio economic scale. I feel the same way about my speech, that, you know what, I have a right, and I am so proud to be a proud citizen of the great US of A, because we have rights. And, I want to show all the jobs that I've worked at. I always say that I'm going to show you all that I'm just as effective as someone who does not have a speech impairment, because you know what? I want to show that, hey, I have the intelligence, the skills, the work ethic to get the job done. It just so happens that I have a speech disfluency. It just so happens. And I say that because I don't want people to look at me solely because of my stutter. I don't want that. I want people to look at me as the person who has put himself through school, as the person who takes care of his loved ones, as the person who gets up every day saying, I'm going to get the job done. My employer is paying me good money to do the job. I'm going to make that money worth it. It just so happens that I stutter. It just so happens.
Woo, Ignacio, let me tell you, you are testifying today. That is awesome. Okay, now, I do what, you do. I tell everybody because, I cannot hide this. So I tell everybody. I disclose.
And don't hide it. Let it out. Be proud of it.
Exactly. And I educate and raise awareness because, there are a lot of people, Ignacio, who still, they don't have a clue as to what I have. All they have in their heads is you talk funny. It's like, woo, hold on. Let me, back up. Beep, beep, beep. And so I'm going to educate. And,
I've been told that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been told that.
And, I raise awareness. So that way you have all of the information. And so if you, if you encounter another person that has a stutter, you are equipped now, to have it handled in a way that it has integrity and respect and grace. And so, yes, sir, I'm right there. I'm right there with you. Okay, now, I want to talk about, job interviews because, I don't have to tell you, Ignacio, they are rough for everybody. However, if you have a stutter, it is, it is a little bit more, daunting. How did you handle job interviews with having a stutter?
Well, similar to the way I'm handling it now, okay. So I try to keep all that physical tension in my stomach because it takes so much energy to convey my thoughts, especially when it's a potential employer of the company that I really want to work for. I want to impress them. I want to show them that, you know what, hire me. I'm worth it. So all of that tension goes down. I push all of that tension down into my stomach. And well, anything below the chest, because then, if I'm sitting behind the desk or, a table, of course they won't see it, but, I try to push that all down there, and I try to be like, okay, so what's coming out of my mouth is one thing, but my inner monologue is, okay, take your time. This is not a race. Word for word, speak word by word. Okay, you don't have to rush. So I'm like, there are two things going on. I'm trying to respond to whatever the question is, but then my mind is deliver, be as fluent as you can be, stumble on your words. It's okay. Just keep going. Don't look like you have been defeated. So in all the jobs that I've had and the interview that I've had, similar to the way I'm speaking now. So how you see me right now is the same way that my employers have seen me during interviews. I just respond directly to the questions, and I no longer hold on to that fear that if I stumble, hey, just get through it, move on, and get the job. And I'm very fortunate that the jobs that I've applied for, from my teaching job to now my speech pathology career, I've been able to get the job, but also show that, one of the things that I don't want is for my bosses to say, we regret hiring him, or why did we hire him? I want them to say, I'm glad he's part of our team. I'm glad that he's here contributing to our mission. I'm glad that he's here to work for us. But that starts with me. I always put that on my back and my shoulders, that despite my stutter, I can do the job.
See, and that is awesome, because I tell everybody, you want us on your team. We are hard workers. We are also creative, courageous, and resilient, because when we get knocked down, and I can talk for Pedro, I have been knocked down on the daily, but I still get up and do what I have to do, because I know that we're awesome. And let me tell you,
yes, we are.
In job interviews, the old Pedro in the 80s and 90s, I crash and burn. However, after I told myself, look, Pedro, you're awesome. I love you. You just have a stutter, and that's it. Now,
Yes. Yes.
once I spoke that out, I mean, I tell you, a whole new world had opened up. And so
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
job interviews, I disclose, hi, good morning. I'm Pedro Pena. I have a speech impediment. I have a stutter. So if I get hung up on any word, I want you to give me 8 hours. Hopefully it will come out. But if you know what I am trying to say, help me, help you, help me. Because I might believe that the teamwork, it makes the dream work. And when I tell you, after I tell them that, it puts everyone at ease. And now I can focus on the questions because I got it out there, and they know that I
Yes.
have humor,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and that it is all good. Okay, now I am ready to answer your questions. And let me tell you, after I did that, woo, job after
Yeah.
job after job,
Yeah.
look what I did. Yeah, I stumbled, I blocked, I repeated, my eyes had closed, my hands went all over the place because, I'm from Texas. I talk with my hands. Everything was
Mm-hmm.
everywhere, but I got hired. And the cool part is afterwards, I heard that was a great interview. I admire your courage.
Mm-hmm.
Woo, come
Yeah.
on now, courage.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So yeah, it's all good.
Because you disclose that, and I think that's one of the biggest things that we face is the anxiety, because the fear of being judged, the fear of being stigmatized, right? But once we say, hey, you know what, I'm going to take control of this. And that's why, I always think, okay, I got to take control of this. Now, once I do get a good grip and good handle on this, on my speech, you know what? Now I want you all to see what I can do. If I can disclose that very vulnerable, very sensitive part about what I'm going through, then what can't I do? And I applaud you, because prior, and just a little tidbit for the viewers. I actually reached out to Pedro, because I am interested in joining the U.S. Armed Forces. And but one of my biggest fear was that the U.S. military will say, "Oh, you're not a viable candidate because of your speech." And so, I reached out to Pedro, and I said, I read that you are an Air Force veteran, and that's the branch. Well, I don't know about now, but and I'll tell y'all in a bit. But I reached out and I said, you know what? I need some advice, and hence that's how this whole thing began, because I reached out and I asked, how was your experience as a person who stutters in the Air Force? How did you get through it? Because yeah, we can talk more about my new dream of wanting to serve, but I applaud you, Pedro, for really really getting that message out. And you've contributed to that one voice that, whatever job we want to do, we can do it. We just happen to stutter. Yeah. So, yeah. So thank you very much for responding to my direct message on Instagram.
So, number one, you were hashtag awesome. And then also, I had a journey. Ooh, it was a journey, Ignacio, but I had it in my head. This is the only goal. I am not headed back home on a Greyhound bus back to South Texas. This is the only goal that I have. And when I tell you, I fought. I said, no. I have all the skills. I scored so high on the ASVAB. I said, no. I am joining the Air Force. And so, I mean, I had it in my head. I had an obstacle, but you know what? I told myself, you need to do this because going home is not an option. And I mean, I called on the Lord, on everybody. I said, I need your help because this is my goal. And this is the only thing that I want to do. And when I tell you that, I mean, I aced it. I mean, I joined the U.S. Air Force. I traveled all over the world. It was amazing. The people all over the world were wonderful and beautiful and just so awesome. I love the Air Force. I mean, to have a person that has a stutter hear horror stories of other people who were told, no. I said, that will not happen to Pedro because I know I'm awesome. I'm heading in there. I'm going to do it. And, and I am a contrarian by nature. And so if you tell me, that I can't, do something, watch me.
Yes.
And so, I love the Air Force. So, awesome. Woo woo.
And so, see, you showed us that you can aim high, fly, fight, and win. Now, now I don't know if I can aim high, fly, and win. Perhaps I can be all that I can be, but we'll see how that plays out.
All right, sir. I wish you nothing but the best, and so it's all good. Okay, now I want to talk about COVID. I want to talk about the pandemic. In March of 2020, everything shut down. And so I was happy. I worked in an office. I talked to people every day. I interacted. I knew them and they knew me. Everything was great. However, when COVID hit, I got the news. Hello, Pedro. Here is your headset. Here is a webcam. You will be working from home from here on out.
Yes.
When I tell you, Ignacio, I'm like, what? What did I just hear? And so when I heard, that I had to do everything on a headset, on a webcam, I spiraled. I thought, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. And what if I can do it? I won't have a job anymore. I got a mortgage and And so, after I spent a whole day and spiraled, the next day I called up a buddy and I told him, look, here is what I have to do. I need to practice. And when I tell you there are good people out there, Ignacio, good people out there. Yes. He helped me and we practice and we practice and we practice. And so that way on Monday, when I had to do it for real, I did it. Yes, I had hiccups. Yes, but look what I did. Yes. And so now I want to ask you the big question. How did you navigate in a COVID with having to do everything on a headset and a webcam?
Well, I believe it or not, I actually loved it because, and that's what encouraged me to work fully remote because, I viewed virtual work as the happy marriage between my love for tech and the love for the speech pathology field. And the fact that I'm more relaxed. I think I'm more relaxed. Working from home, it made it all the more worthwhile to explore. So when I was still working for the public school system here in Saipan, and we were told, okay, return to office. I said, "Oh, I actually like working from home. I want to do that." And I didn't see any difference with my speech whether I was in person or online. It was the same to me, at least. It was the same. So, I was more so after which I loved more. And if there was a silver lining that came from this whole lockdown, it was that I learned to love virtual work. Everyone else, everyone has said, oh, we are just itching to go back. We are just itching to get in our cars and make the morning commute every day, stop by the cafe and get our coffees and scones. And I'm like, I can have coffees and scones at home. At my desk at home. Because I just loved it. And I still have those difficult days with my speech, but I get to do it at least I get to do it at home. And after I'm done, because I work stateside time, so I get up 3:00 in the morning, my time. Yes. Yeah. It almost killed me the first couple of weeks. I'll tell you. Let me tell you. It from 3 a.m. to 10 a.m. Saipan time, because I work stateside time. By the time 10 o'clock a.m. hits our time, my bed is like a couple steps away from me right now. So I just hop on over, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a good nap, because it's been a day. So I still work the full day, but then I have the rest of the day to get lunch, to do other things that I wanna do. But yeah, so the first couple of weeks of working from home, fully working from home, was hard. That was hard, and that was where I felt my stutter was really in abundance, because I was having to adjust with being half asleep. I was having to adjust with, of course, meeting new people, and of course, for all of us, we know how much anxiety that is to introduce ourselves. My name, and my name Ignacio. The letter or the sound that I always get stuck on is the N, because I feel like when my tongue, because with the N, that's an alveolar sound. So that's a speech pattern. So the alveolar sounds are when our tongue reaches that alveolar ridge, which is that little bump behind our upper teeth. When the tip of my tongue goes up and touches my alveolar ridge, it gets stuck. So every time I introduce myself, my name is it doesn't want. Like, I'm like, come on, Ignacio. But no, it just stays there. And I'm like, okay, so having to introduce myself to the new team, to the school staff. And I'm like, okay. But that happened a lot too when I was in person. So it wasn't much different. Yeah.
Okay, now, so how did you handle the mask in COVID? Because that's a whole other podcast show. But I want to ask you, how did you handle the mask in COVID with having a stutter?
Well, I'm just glad that we don't have to wear masks anymore. It's not a mandate anymore. Let me just say that. But in some ways, it helped me, because you don't see the grimacing and lip quivering. So, and I can always pretend like, I'm sorry, you couldn't really hear. It's because of my mask. Because if I have a block, a really severe block, I could just blame it on, sorry, it's the mask. and then I'd say it. I know that I use it as a crutch, but that was at that time, that was my defense mechanism to sort of just explain why I was having a hard time speaking. But it helped me though. But did it challenge me? Yes, it did, because for everyone knows wearing a mask inhibits your ability to breathe. Hence, of course, that's why it was there, because, we didn't want COVID to spread through our breath vapors. So it was like having to breathe. And, when you're having a hard time breathing, and of course that affects your talking. So I'm like, so yes, there were days I felt even more exhausted with the shortness of breath. So, but, I still got COVID. So, how much of it helped? Well, perhaps it did some, but I still got it.
Oh, yes. I had a hard time with having on a mask because, I just had a lot of issues. And now that we don't have to have one anymore, it's like, woo, okay, thank you. I can breathe now. I can breathe because I could not breathe. So yeah. Yes. Okay, now, so I want to talk about some ADLs, and these are the activities of a daily living. I want to talk about, how did you handle the telephone? How did you handle in a drive-through, and how do you handle at a restaurant when you have to order?
Okay. Telephone. I'm glad you brought that up. You know how when we call someone and there's someone that we may not be familiar with, and they would say, who is this? And then, the typical phrase is, this is our name. Well, guess what? When it also comes to some fricatives like like the voiced I sometimes, saying the word this. I'm like, this is, okay, this is. And then here comes my name. Ignacio. Don't even get me started on saying my last name. Dela Cruz. The D. Again, it's the other alveolar sound where, again, my tongue has to tap on my alveolar ridge. This is Ignacio Dela Cruz. Just introducing myself on the phone is, so how I handle that is I sometimes, like when you're about to race, you rev up your engine. So I would say this is Ignacio. So it's sort of like revving your car for when you step on the gas, or when you go on the race. So that's sort of like the way that I had to compensate for it, is sort of repeat the first word a couple times and then go. I don't know what it is. Maybe I can only surmise because it's like getting my hype. I'm hyping myself up, getting my breath there, so that way I can breathe through it, as opposed to if I say it straight, this is Ignacio Dela Cruz, where by the time I get to the Cruz part, I'm like, so I'm trying to collect the air, and then boom, let it all out. I guess that's just what I've noticed about myself. It doesn't happen to everyone, of course, but as a speech path, I've become hyper aware of how I do things in terms of having to compensate and deal with my speech. So, that's one of the benefits I see about being in this field, is that I know the whole parts about the compensatory strategies that some people do, when they're having a difficult time trying to communicate. And you'll see me, one of my compensatory strategies is to really talk word by word. So you will see me slow down and say each word one at a time, instead of like a train of words. It's like, okay, word, Word, yeah. Still on the phone is difficult. That's why sometimes I prefer texting, texting because I can write down a whole paragraph and I'm good. But now it's like if somebody calls me, then I'm like, hello, and then saying the word hello, it's hello, and then yeah. So, but it's gotten better. I've gotten better on the phone as compared to several years ago. Still room to grow, but not as difficult as before. And so I always tell myself, okay, just employ your stuttering modification tools, breathing, if you need to pull out, pausing, breathing, just breathing. Try to not have too much tension on your throat, your jaw. A lot of things I learned in my therapy when I was a child, and then now as a speech path, the same strategies that I would tell clients. So there's that. Ordering at the restaurant or ordering overall. Okay. I'm sure many people have gone through this, but, despite knowing what you really want to get, if you can't say it, you have to order something else. Oh. How many times did I love chocolate. If there's anything that you need to know about me, I am a chocolate fan. I love chocolate fraps, chocolate cakes and all that. This one particular instance, the ch sound of the word chocolate, I couldn't say it. It just got stuck at ch. And I had to quickly switch to, can I get, I forgot what it was, but it was something that I could say. So I got that instead. And yeah, I got through it, tried to just get through it. And I got it. I got whatever it is. I forgot whether it was a frap or a cake. And I got it, and it was in that other flavor and not chocolate. And I said, just really want it? Oh. But I had to eat it or I had to drink it just because I already ordered it. But I was like, oh, I wish I got chocolate instead. I wish I got that instead. And so, but now I'm a little bit more brave. If I stumble on my words, I try to just get through it. I'm like, chocolate. I want chocolate. And, again, thinking of compensatory things. So instead of saying it becomes chocolate. So it becomes more like so it's, I guess, easier. But I don't do that all the time. It's only when I know that it's going to come. And, the great thing about all of us who stutter is that we have this instinct. We know exactly when it'll happen. We know, we can feel it in our bones and in our heart that, okay, here it comes. Here he comes. And so it's like, okay, here it comes. Think of. And that's what I want to say. That's what makes, we who stutter very intelligent, because we have this metacognition, right? We know. So it takes us only a few seconds to think of, okay, how do I deal with it? I mean, that means that we're pretty smart with that. Because it's like, okay, how do I deal with it? I've dealt with it. And that's my inner monologue is, okay, here it comes. How do I deal with it? 1 second. Boom. Yes. Can I get chocolate? And yeah. So by the time it comes out, hello.
See, and you hit it right on the nose as we are talking. And I mean, ooh. And that is why at the end of the day, we're exhausted. When I am talking, I know all of the words that are coming. And there's a long line of words. And so I know in it, there are 1 or two words that I know I'm going to have a hard time with. And so as I am still talking in my head, I am switching out all those words as I'm talking to you. So, I mean, and so that's why we're tired at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh, I do the same thing. I think of synonyms. Synonyms. But you know what? I think I see the benefit in that because you know what? It grows our vocabulary base. So for example, the P. And I'm sure you've noticed it when I was trying to say your name, the P, the bilabial sounds where our lips have to touch. Well, guess what? My lips touch, they never open. So like the word person. There was a time where I could not say the word person, people. Yes, person and people. So if I were to say, oh, there are 25 people, I would substitute that with 25 individuals because the individual is a vowel sound, so it's more vowels are open, whereas consonants for some are closed. And so I would say 25 individuals because then the tension is not as there, whereas person or people, where that tension, the air is like there, but your lips are closed, so it can't get out, and that's where that plosive, sounds come up because it's like exploding. I hope I'm defining it correctly. Excuse me if I didn't define it in the correct way, but when the air explodes, right? So that, and then teacher. Ironically, I was a teacher, but I would substitute that for the word instructor because an instructor still teaches. They instruct. That's what a teacher does, instruct. So I said, okay, you know what? Let me say instructor. There we go. So, but it helped me grow my word base, my vocabulary repertoire. And because I knew the substitutes for these words that I'm like, you know what, I'm going to impress y'all with my repertoire, not knowing that it's my compensatory strategy. Yeah. And so, but I feel proud because it's like, okay, I'm showing y'all this word, these words that I happen to pick up from the thesaurus, just to make sure I have those words in place on my arsenal, just in case I had to use it. But yeah, so there's that. What other? So there's other daily activities. Well, of course, just speaking. When I'm meeting someone for lunch or talking with someone, of course, there are portions of my speech where it's just like, but that's typical. Yeah. I will say this. I'm sort of an oddball in the sense of when I'm giving a speech in front of a crowd, I feel like I don't stutter as much. I don't know why. I've been told that's weird because one would think that you would stutter even more if you're in front of a huge crowd. And I don't know. I can only surmise why. Because they're far away from me. As opposed to if there's someone right in front of me, they can see everything that is going on, all the secondary behaviors. Whereas if it's a crowd, they're far away from me. I'm up on the stage, they're far away from me, so they won't be able to see it, so I can hide. I can sort of conceal it. As, Elsa said in Frozen, conceal, don't feel. So I'm concealing it, so the crowd won't see it. I guess just like you, I'm a contrarian in that way, where one would think that if I'm in front of a crowd, I would be like all over the place. But yeah, that's just what I've observed with myself. So there's the whole metacognition, meta-aware, the intra-awareness of what goes on with me and how I physically and emotionally react.
And when I am on stage, because I am a trainer, I am a teacher, and so I may have 20 people or 30 or 40 or 50, or whatever. So okay, I read a book, and it is by Mel Robbins, and so she wrote a book called the 5-second rule, and in her book, it changed my whole life. She, in her book, it taught me how to take all of my fear and all of my anxiety and turn it into excitement. And so when I walk on to the stage, in my head, I tell myself, I'm going to have a great time. Look what I get, to do. And so when I hop on stage, I block, I repeat, but oh well, I am having the best time. And then at the end, Ignacio, at the end, I hear this. A bunch of applause. It's like, wow, look what I did. It's, it is awesome.
Wonderful.
It's awesome.
It's wonderful. And, I love that applause, because you know what? That affirms that's affirmation that, what? Yes, I stumbled on my words. So what? But I got the crowd cheering. They're cheering for me. And of course, I got the whole pageant wave down. Elbow, elbow, wrist, 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 or the light bulb, or elbow, wrist, 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 or the finger tapping, and I guess that's why speaking in public has been something that I was so fearful of, but then I learned to love it because, I'm not on the stage just representing myself. I'm also representing all those who were afraid to speak up, who are afraid to let their voices be heard, and all the wonderful things that they have to share. I'm up there representing them. And when I hear that applause, it's like, wow, I did it. I did it there. That goes in my mind. I did it. And that motivates me to go on to the next thing. And the next thing, and the next thing. So, and that's important for all of us, not just for persons who stutter, but just for everyone. When you get that affirmation that you did something, you showed others what you could do, you showed that you are capable, that helps us know that I am worthy. I am someone who is worth this space. I am taking this space and I'm worth it. And, and so the last time I spoke in public, I was asked about when I had represented my home at an international conference. This was back in 2019. And when I came home, I was asked, and it amazed me that I was asked to speak to a graduate level class and a conference for potential college students. I was invited to speak, and of course I had my speech written down, so I practiced that. So I had that adapted effect where I had already knew what, and I was able to kind of change some words that I knew that I would have a difficult time with. And when they called me on stage, let me tell you, and I'm sure you feel this way. Every public speaking engagement that I go to, no matter how many times I do it, I always feel those butterflies. Well, to me, it's not butterflies. I feel it's like birds, like flocks of birds swarming around. To say it's butterflies will be an understatement. It'd be birds, flocks of birds flying around in my stomach. But as soon as I get up on the stage and I find that walking up to the stage relieves some of that anxiety because it's movement. So, you're moving. And then getting up on that stage and then seeing the crowd and just saying, okay, here we go. And then getting through it, trying to and I love being humorous in my speeches because it relieves my tension and it gets the crowd engaged. And then once it's all said and done and I say, Thank you very much for your time. And I am so happy to be here. Speech close, applause. And I'm like, I did it. And then, of course, I would, meet the crowd and be amongst the people. So that's why I love it. I love that. I love doing these things,
See, okay, now, here is what I want to tell you, and this is going to just make you feel awesome. If you have the butterflies in your tummy, it just means that you are going to do something great. How cool is that? You are going to do something so awesome. And I mean, I get those, let me tell you, on the daily. When I get those in my head, because I mean, it's all, but in my head, I hear you are going to do something great. And when I walk on stage, let me tell you, Ignacio Dela Cruz, when I walk on stage, I knock it out of the ballpark. I still block, I still repeat, but I just knock it out of the ballpark. And afterwards, you hear that amazing applause. Look what I did. I was like, oh, it is the best emotion in the world. The best.
It is. It is.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay, now, I want to talk about a topic that is hot in our community. Some people call it a crutch. I call it a tool. But it is called secondary behaviors. So if you have a block or a repetition, do you do anything to help you, get the word out?
Oh, yes. My fingers sometimes fidget. Sometimes I tap on my foot taps and I look away. So let's say we were doing this interview in person and I had this, with all the stuttering nonsense that I've had thus far, I would look away. I would look either down and I think you've seen me looking down a bit. I would look down, just look away. And then once I get through it, I look back at you because it's, it goes back to that fundamental, and my eyes closed too. It goes back to that fundamental fear of being judged, where if I know that, so there are the covert signs of stuttering and the overt. When the overt, meaning all the physical characteristics that accompany the onset itself, that's what you all can see. That's what my communication partner can see. And I look away. I tend to look away. I try not. I try not. I try to keep eye contact because that's the proper way of doing it. But as a human being, that's what I do to deal with it. I look away because it's always brings me back to they're gonna judge you. They're judging you. And so I look away, and then I remind myself, look back, look back at them, make sure that that they know that, hey, I'm still speaking. I want to give you the respect of looking at you in the eye and telling you what I have to say, and then have that reciprocal conversation. So there's that. Other secondary behaviors, depending on if I'm sitting down. So if I'm sitting down, I try to keep my hands, I have my hands on my lap and I push them on my lap. Because you know what? It's like if I feel tension elsewhere on my leg, or, if I have it on my hands, like I try to, like the way that the debutantes are taught to sit down, of course, then it means, okay, the tension is going somewhere else. It's not going to be on my mouth and throat. So I guess that's another thing that I do. I know it's different for everyone. Some people do other things, but for me, that's what I've noticed I tend to do. Still keep my composure, still keep my poise and my grace, and just, if I try not to move around a lot. I try to be like, okay, we're going to be calm, cool, and collected, and, just get through it.
See, and I tell everybody, I am going to do what I'm going to do to help get the word out. I may have an accent. It's quite lovely. Or, I tap my head. Because I'm old. Okay, Ignacio, I'm 53. I'm exhausted.
Young at heart.
Yes. Sorry. I am young at heart. Yeah. I am tired. So I will do whatever I can to help me get the word out. And it is okay. It is okay because we are all different in our, journeys. And so I will do whatever I have to do. Because, there was a point in my life, Ignacio. Okay, this will make your head explode. So there was a point in my life where I did not talk for 2 years. I did not talk for 2 years because I was tired of my stutter, So I wrote everything down on a piece of paper, on a Post-it. And then also, there was a point in my life where I whispered everything. I would tell people I have laryngitis, and so I can't really talk. And so, look, it is called survival. Pedro has to eat, and Pedro has to work. Pedro has to grocery shop. It is survival. So I did what I had to do in order to survive. And so what I tell everybody, I have a lot of tools in my toolbox. If I need it, I have it. If I don't, oh well. But I hear a lot, oh, you have a crutch. It isn't a bad thing in my opinion, in my life experience. I can only talk for Pedro. It has helped me out. And so if it has helped me out, I'm going to continue to use it if I need it. So yeah, it's just me.
Yeah. And I feel the same way with my secondary behaviors because I mean I look at it as not as a crutch, not as and I look at it as, hey, this is who I am. This is who I am. Telling me to change who I am, it's like, hello, I've been doing these things for at my age, 30 years old. And if it helps me, unless there's some sort of law that Congress passed that we can't use secondary behaviors, then I'm gonna keep using them because it helps, and I feel the same way that you do. It helps me, and if it helps me become a better communicator, then you know what? No matter what anyone else feels, unless I'm breaking any law, I wouldn't worry because that's just how I am. That's just who I am. And I'm proud of who I am. It took me years to accept it, but if it helps me, it helps. It helps me.
Ooh, yes. Hold on. That is hashtag awesome, Ignacio Dela Cruz. I just had to add that on there because you're hashtag awesome.
Thank you.
Now, so here is a hot topic question. It's a hot topic. All right. So I got to hold it because it's hot. All right. So I asked everybody on my podcast. All of the answers are split right down the middle. I respect everyone's answer. So here we go. Ignacio de la Cruz. Do you let others help you finish your sentences? Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, I've heard this hot. Okay. Is this the View or your podcast? Because I was gonna get.
How you doing? No, this is not Wendy Williams. I'm sorry, Wendy Williams. do not come after me. No.
Oh, and all praise to Wendy, and I hope she is doing well. I'm almost afraid this is something I'm almost afraid to speak up together with my political views. Well. Okay, speaking for me, myself, and I, Ignacio Dela Cruz. So no cancel culture, please. I appreciate it if someone fills in the words. Of course, we're always we're taught to tell caregivers, teachers, and don't fill in the words, and sure, I do want to finish my words. I do want to express my words, but if someone fills in a word, then I'm like, okay, hey, I have no qualms about that. That's just for me, okay? Again, for the viewers out there, that's just for me. Maybe different for everyone else, but it's just for me. It's like, oh, thank you. I don't view it as someone being like demeaning, or I don't view it as someone trying to downplay what I'm trying to say or the messaging, but I view it as, okay, thank you for giving me my word. I can move on. As simple as that. Some people who stutter may take it as an offense, and they have the right to feel that way. Their feelings are valid. Their feelings are legit. But speaking for myself as Ignacio Dela Cruz, I'm okay. I'm fine with it. Yeah.
See, and the old, Pedro in the 80s, it would anger me because no. I know what I'm trying to say, and, I don't need for you to talk for me. But the Pedro in the 2000s,
Mhm.
I am young at heart, so I'm
Mhm.
exhausted.
Yes.
Ignacio de la Cruz. I am 53 years young and I'm tired. I mean, I don't have to tell you, I don't have to tell anybody who's hearing from all over the world. Stuttering is exhausting, it's draining.
Yes.
So,
It is.
so the other Pedro, the newer, the newer Pedro 2.0. No, if you know what I'm trying to say, what I tell everybody, help me, help you, help me. Because I truly believe that teamwork makes the dream work, but you better get it right. You better get it right. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm right there. I'm
Mhm.
right there. So all right. So here is a head scratcher. Woo, are you ready, Ignacio de la Cruz?
I'm ready.
Okay. So when you are alone, can you speak without stuttering?
Yes. Yes. Because again, there's no audience there. Especially if I say my prayers. I hold my faith to a very to a very high pedestal. So when I pray, I don't stutter as much because I'm speaking to my maker. I'm speaking to our good Lord. And I just, when I self talk, I don't feel pressured. And when that pressure is brought down, then those anxieties that trigger that affect my disfluency is gone. And yes, I've noticed that, and yeah, yeah.
See, I am your opposite. I still block. I still repeat when I talk to my, you know, to my dog. I mean, I still block. I still repeat when I talk to myself, as we all do. No judging. I still block.
Mhm.
I still repeat. So you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. So all
That's
right.
fine.
So here is another huge question. So if you have an appointment like at a doctor's office and you walk in, you know, and then as you head into the building, you walk into the office and there's an admin person and they greet you. Hi, good morning. What is your name? And then you have a block. But I'm not talking just a regular block. Ignacio de la Cruz. When you have a block, this is a block. And so there's a long pause. And then the admin person will ask you, did you forget your name? Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, the block, yes. The serious block, yes. Again, saying I don't know what and I read this. I saw that you put up a post of that book, The Unspoken Words. Yes, I love that book. So to the writer of that book, thank you so much. I bought your book on Kindle and I'm reading it now. And in that book, it talks about some things that and I've read it in other sources too, that saying our name is difficult because it's something that we should be able to know, but I guess because that fear of the first impression, we all want to make a good first impression, yeah, but it's like that builds that pressure for us to say our name. And if your name has a lot of the sounds, well, no, it doesn't matter because it's just your name. Even if my name was Stephen, Paul, Jesus, because it's my name, I will stumble either way. So it just so happens that Ignacio de la Cruz is full of alveolar sounds, and that I stumble on. Um, And yes, I haven't been told that. Did I forget your name? Did you forget your name? But I've seen people giggle. I've seen people like, like that. And I'm like, hey, I know my name. I know my name. I know my name. This is just a difficult time for me right now to say it. And yeah, I try not to take it to heart. I try not to, because you know what? I know my worth. I know that I am hashtag awesome. But we can't control how other people react to us. We can't. But we can only control how we respond, how we react. And how I choose to react is with grace, with poise. And I'm going to be like, you know what? I've gone through worse. And if seeing someone giggle when I stutter on my words or on my name, then you know what? It's like, you know what? I know what I've done in life. I know what I've accomplished. I'm just going to walk away. Others have experienced far worse, and my heart goes out to them. I've experienced my share of negative experiences because of how other people react. I mean, I've even read stories of long time ago in ancient times where, I guess in that like ancient Roman period, where there was this one famous story where this person who stutters was put in a cage and ridiculed for other people's enjoyment. I've heard of stories of people being institutionalized, not because there was anything wrong with them. They just happen to stutter. And so when I see reactions like that or receive comments like that, and I've been teased, in school, where my classmates would mock or would mock my stutter to imitate how I talk, and just in the intent of picking on me and all that. I've gone through that. But looking back at what I've been able to do in life, accomplish, I think, if I was able to do that, I can do anything, despite the negative experiences. Yeah, it is what it is.
See, and it's happened to me a lot, Ignacio. If I had a quarter, I would have a house in Greece and Bali, Australia. But what I do now, because the old Pedro, I would rage, but the new Pedro, the 2.0, I educate and raise awareness. And so that way, for the next time in which they encounter a person that has a stutter, they are educated and better equipped to have it handled in a way that has integrity and grace and respectful. So yes, I'm right there with you. Okay, now, so here is a big one, as we are both heading over to Hollywood. So how do you feel about the representation of people who stutter in the media, like in movies and da-da-da? How do you feel about that? Because
one of the movies that really spoke to my heart, and I'm sure we both know this, The King's Speech. Him and that movie, and there was a character in the movie Pearl Harbor, starring Ben Affleck. There was a scene when Pearl Harbor, Hawaii was being bombed, and this was, early morning, so everyone is asleep. There was one soldier that rushed into their dorms. I guess that's what it's called, into their dorms, and was trying to say, we're being bombed, we're being attacked, but he was stuttering. And the other character said, what are you trying to say? Or, something along those lines. So there's that. And then, going back to the King's speech, when Colin Firth's character, the King George, was stuttering on his words, and he wasn't the king yet. His dad was still alive, and his dad, who was played by the guy who was no longer with us, but I think it was the same guy who played Dumbledore in the Harry Potter film. He told then Prince George, "Spit it out, boy, spit it out." And and I've been told that. I've been told some variations of that just let it out, spit it out. I'm like, I would if I could. It's stuck. There's that, and then there are other films I'm sure I've seen with characters portraying persons who stutter, but those were the two films that really are prominent in my mind with those portrayals. Now, the King's speech was inspirational to me because this is the king, the leader of Great Britain, and he sought help from a speech pathologist who helped him with therapy and all that. But prior to Prince George seeking help from the speech path, the medical teams that he had consulted recommended overly smoking, putting stuff in his mouth, and I'm like, oh, thank gosh they didn't recommend that to me, because then I wouldn't want to be I wouldn't want to be chain smoking at my age now. But that was the first movie that I saw that really addressed stuttering and speech therapy. Yeah, in the other films, it was like one or two characters. It was very passive, not really putting focus on that. But The King's Speech was the first movie that I've seen that really, really focused in on the therapy and the service, and then the success that the king, because he made a speech, of course, King's speech. He made a speech at the end of the film, and he was able to get through it with the tools that he learned. He was able to get through it. And that spoke volumes to me, because that's basically the story of our lives, and this was set in the 1940s, 1950s, before the prince, or when he became, first he was a prince, then he became king. That spoke volumes, because it doesn't matter the time period, right? The therapies and the strategies that we use are not just placed in this time era. People who stutter have dealt with the same anxieties, and I think it's really cool to think that generations of people who stutter have gone through the exact same thing that you and I are feeling, that you and I have gone through. It's been going on since the beginning of time. And it amazes me that it shows it's nothing new. It is nothing new that there are people who stutter, but it still amazes me that we still go through some of the, at least for some, have gone through the discrimination, gone through the vitriol, have gone through the stigma. It's like we still see the same things happening in today's world. So it's like, there's that. But how Hollywood portrays persons who stutter. Um, on one side, I'm glad that at least we're being represented. At least there is a portrayal. But I want more films that show like the success. That show the success of the character who stutters and succeed. I want more portrayals like that. I want more movies to show that. We have films who show folks who come from minority backgrounds succeeding and being portrayed in a wonderful light on film, and that's great. But aside from The King's Speech, I haven't really seen a film where the main character, the protagonist, has a stutter and shows them in this very wonderful light. It's only The King's Speech that I know of. I don't know if Forrest Gump would count, but he does have some speech needs there. But it's more so on The King's Speech that really, really focused on fluency. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, 100%. And so I'm hoping to go to Hollywood as you are, because we need to be out there. We need to be out there because, I have watched a couple of movies as to where, they have a character who has, a stutter, and they are portrayed as, not having, intelligence, and da-da-da-da-da. And so what I want is to have us be out there and making the movies and the TV shows, stutter and all. So, yeah.
And so if I may ask, if there's any TV producers or executive watching this, if you could pay for my flight to LA or New York to be interviewed on those talk shows, I would gladly go. But yes, if you could just pay for my flight and room and board, then that'll be great. But I would love to go on talk shows. So I hope that TV executives are going to watch this. And so I'm here.
It's all good. Okay, now here is a deep question. This is a deep question. I ask everyone on my podcast. All of the answers are split right down the middle. I respect everyone's answers. So I want to ask you, Ignacio, do you consider stuttering as a disability?
Well, technically, because it is speech and the language impairment is one of the categories as listed under IDEA. Again, that's where my educational and speech path background comes in. But I've always believed that the real disability is how you is your attitude. Because I could have said, no, I give up. I'm not going to do any of these plans that I set for myself. I'm not going to do any of that because of my stutter. I'm not going to do it. But instead I said, no, yes, no change. There's no changing that I have a speech impairment, but is it going to stop me? Yes, I did receive help through an IEP plan and with the support of the IEP team. Yes, but there comes a point where I had to make that decision for myself that with all the support and tools that I got, where do I go from here? And I And I told myself that, if I want to get the job, if I want to go on speaking engagements, if I want to succeed in life, I have to make that choice. I have to make that choice that, yes, I have a speech impairment, but it doesn't mean I'm not capable of reaching my dreams. I can do it. I can do just like everybody else. I just happen to stutter. And so I choose not to let it disable me, but to enable me. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. I thank you for that. So, did you ever consider that your stutter might hinder your career path?
Honestly, yes. I, believe it or not, wanted to go to law school. I wanted to. But much of my perceptions of the legal field came from shows like CSI, Law and Order, where in those heated courtroom scenes, they were talking a million miles a second because they're trying to convince the judge that, that person is bad and all that. And I said to myself, oh, I can't do that. No judge is going to want to hear a lawyer who stutters. That's what I perceived. That's what I perceived from watching the shows. Because I didn't grow up with lawyers, and I wasn't exposed to the legal field. So all of my perceptions came from these shows that the lawyers were like, boom, 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 boom. I object. I abstain. I object. I abstain. And they were talking a million miles an hour, trying to cite all these case logs and all that. And I said, oh, I can't do that. I can do the research, but I won't be able to talk that fast. So that's why I didn't pursue law school. But ironically, I pursued the teaching field and the speech pathology field, which you have to talk every day, talk a huge amount. And so that's what I laugh at myself sometimes, that I was so afraid of pursuing a legal career when I pursued a teaching career and the speech pathology career. How ironic. And then, of course, my new goal of joining the U.S. military, of course, that was hindered at one point because I thought, oh my gosh, I have to reporting statement and say things like, if I were to join the U.S. Air Force, I would have to say things like, trainee Dela Cruz reporting as ordered. I'm able to say that because I've been practicing. Because there is that. And then if I were to pursue the U.S. Army, I say things like, if I specialist Dela Cruz reporting for duty, sir. And you have to say it fast because again, much of my perceptions of how the folks in the U.S. military talk are coming from shows and from friends that I've spoken with, relatives that have and are serving, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I can do that reporting statement or talk that fast and talk in a very and I sometimes think that the military teaches you how to talk in a certain way because like when you hear all of those servicemen and women talk, they talk in a very like it's not like how I'm talking where it's very sing-songy, where it's like my prosody is like all over the place, where when the servicemen and women talk, they're like, it's very, direct, very, like that. And I'm like, I don't think I can talk like that. But you know what? What inspired me to at least to pursue the speech pathology field, which has always been a dream of mine, and I'm so blessed to finally achieve this goal, is that I want to show that, hey, people who have received speech therapy in their childhood or at some point in their lives have the empathy to provide the service, because we know exactly what our clients are going through with the frustrations and the anxieties of not being able to communicate as well as they want to. And as human beings, it is innate that we are social beings, and we need to communicate both verbally and non-verbally. Everything we do is a form of communication. And that's one of the things I always tell others, is that communication is not just with our verbalizations. It's everything that we do. Our facial expressions, our body stances, they all convey a message. And so I felt that, as a person with a stutter, having gone through those experiences myself, I can hopefully inspire my clients and let them know that, hey, you know what? I was able to do it. You can too. Whatever goals it may be. Whether you want to become a speech pathologist or something else, don't let it stop you. You can. I almost let it stop me, but if I did, would I have this right now? Yeah. And I wanted to wear my scrub because I wanted to show that, hey, despite having a stutter, I'm able to have this. I'm able to have this.
How cool. That is awesome.
And there were some experiences that made me doubt. One time in my undergraduate program, I was in class, and there were I couldn't speak about this experience before, but I just learned to accept it and just move on. That's why I'm able to speak on it now. There were times where I doubted whether teaching and speech pathology, was the field, because there were a couple experiences that were really that stood out to me, that really that never left me, and I think I carry it with me for the rest of my life. The first being, I was in class during my undergrad, and I was in class giving a presentation. Of course, I was stumbling on my words. My professor from the back of the room yelled, "Stop stuttering!" Well, guess what happened after that? I stuttered even more. Because now all eyes were on me. Well, of course, all eyes were on me because I was up in front of the class presenting, but all eyes on me with the shock, like, oh my God, what? And during that whole experience, I had like a few seconds to think, okay, composure. How do I deal with it? How do I circle back? And how do I move on? Oh my gosh, Pedro, I was stunned because it came out of left field. I thought I was doing fine. And yes, I stumbled on my words, but I was doing fine. Then from the back of the room came like a freight train coming towards me. Stop stuttering. And I'm like, so for like a second or a few, it felt like the world stood still. I kid you not, it felt like the world stood still. But I had to finish it. I had no other choice but to finish my speech. And I said, okay, I gotta get through this. But of course, the damage was already there. I was already stuttering more and more. And after class, I was so grateful to my classmates who came up to me and said, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I was just stunned. And then another professor had come up to me and pulled me to the side and said, "Okay, I heard about what happened." And I'm like, "Oh, news travels fast around town, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, that happened." And this other professor of mine, because I took her class, but she said, "You can't complain." And I said, I don't want to make any waves. I don't want to, because, then it would have made it even worse, because now I have to deal with the aftermath of that. Thankfully, that only happened once. I don't know if somebody spoke with that one professor, but that only happened the one time. So there was that. And then the other experience that made me kind of doubt becoming a speech pathologist was, again, during my undergrad, I had done practicum work because, when you're pursuing the education field, you have to do practicum work in the actual school. So they assign you to schools and you go. And this one school that I was assigned to do some practicum work, there was a speech pathologist there. And I was so excited because by that time I was already thinking I want to pursue the speech pathology field at that time already. And I said, "Hey, I heard there's a speech pathologist here based in your school. Can I meet her?" And so I went and, I introduced myself. Again, I stumbled on my words and I said, "I want to be just like you, a speech pathologist." The speech pathologist said to me, and I don't know if you're ready to hear this, "It will be difficult." This person told me, "It'll be difficult for you to become a speech path." And I said, "Why?" "Because you stutter. You will have a difficult time because you stutter, and you are going to be treating other people with communication needs. So you're going to have a hard time." Of course, she said it in less words, but the impact was there. And that moment made me rethink. It made me rethink that what if she's right? What if she's right? But I'll tell you this, I'm glad I didn't listen. I'm glad I was a contrarian at that moment, because had I listened and succumbed to that comment, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I just wanted you to know, prior to 2023, the CNMI, the Northern Marianas, where I'm from, prior to 2023, we did not have licensing guidelines for speech paths. So just last year, our health board adopted licensing guidelines, which I am the first in the history of the CNMI. I am the very first CNMI licensed speech-language pathologist. So my license number is really number one, like literally number one. And had I listened to that one speech pathologist, I would not be where I am today. But I felt hurt, because it was coming from a speech pathologist, a person who took, we all abide by ASHA code of ethics. This person who I thought would hype me up and say, "Yeah, you can do it. Do it." This person instead said, "It's going to be difficult for you. It'll be difficult for you because you have a stutter." So in my mind, it's sort of like she was telling me, how can one person with a stutter help someone else with a, it's like that. That's what I perceived it to be. And yes, I felt hurt, but when the opportunity came to pursue my master's degree in speech language pathology, I said I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And here I am. This is my second year working as a fully licensed ASHA licensed speech language pathologist. I refuse.
That
Thank you.
is
I
awesome.
refused because I refused to take
Yes,
that negative criticism,
exactly.
and I'm going to do it.
Yes.
I'm going
And
to do
so,
it.
so I am happy that you are where you are
Thank you.
because having a a stutter, I mean, you already know, what I have gone through, and my experiences and my emotions, and so yeah, I am happy that you are a SLP because we need you there. We need you there because you have the experience to help. So yeah, that is awesome. And then on having a license, the first one, woo woo, that is so
The,
awesome.
the
I'm so proud
first
of you.
ones.
I'm so
So
proud
in
of
the
you.
past, like in the past, anyone from who was licensed in any of the other 50 states and territories could just come here and just work and practice. But now our licensing board has our own licensing guidelines, and I'm the first. And I'm the first one. So I thought, okay,
How cool is
what
that?
else can I? What else can I do?
How cool is that? That is awesome. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now we are going to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about dating because, as you know, it's hard for everybody. However, if you have a stutter, it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
How do you navigate, or how did you navigate a dating with having a stutter?
Well, truth be told, I've never really dated because I just never really had an interest in forming those intimate relationships because I've been really focused on school and work, and I just never really I never really had that sort of you know, uh, intimate romantic relationships before. But in terms of making new friends, it was always that initial anxiety. But as soon as I got to know them, they got to know me, then it became like, oh my gosh, we are just having a ball, talking and going out for lunches and having drinks. And, it's always that initial meeting because of course part of it is you have to introduce yourself. You have to make that first impression and get to know them. And, um, but as soon as you get past that, then once I get past that, then it's like, hey, hello, 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 and we become friends, and I getting to know them more and more, and as I become more comfortable with someone, I stutter less because I know the pressure is not there as much as when I first met them and trying to kind of scope out, are they the kind of person who will be nice or be mean, or you're still reading them, trying to get to know them, and saying, okay, is this the kind of person that would be um, kind and supportive towards me, or is this someone that perhaps not? You know, so in terms of romantic relationships, I think I'll treat that the same way I'm meeting a new friend. Of course, it'll start out as a friendship, and hopefully blossom into something more. But at least in the friendship, the friend zone, the friend zone, space. That's how I've always I've always communicated and talked with new friends, and then hopefully it blooms into, hey, we're good friends now. We're part of each other's networks. So,
How cool. I thank you for that. Okay, now we are in the home stretch. I just have a couple more questions. We're in the home stretch. So now, how do you feel about all of this new technology? You have Google Home, you have Alexa, and you also have Siri. Do you think this new technology is helpful or hurtful for people who stutter?
I think it's, for me, okay, I think it's great because I'm speaking from a biased point of view because I love tech. I love to learn about tech and, trying them out. So for me, I find it great. With the speech to text, with, of course, I'm not going to say, hey, Siri, because my phone and my iMac will show that circle thing and said, yes. Hence why I'm glad I turned it off. But I find it great. I find tech, like how some people say that our secondary behaviors are a crutch. Some people say that these technology tools are becoming a crutch. Well, depending how you view it, depending how you view things. But for me, it's like, hey, if it makes life easier, if it benefits you, then give it a try. Give it a try. And I love, like, there are times where I would say, hey, sorry, I'm trying not to say because it's gonna, I would say, hey, what is this and that? And, it would help me. And that's a form of AI, which is becoming a huge thing in the world now. And, instead of fighting it, how can we embrace it and say, okay, how can we benefit? I don't believe that it should replace human interaction. I don't believe AI or these tools should replace human beings in the workplace, but I believe that it's more of not as a crutch, but as a tool that we can use to help us in the future. And, with the world the way it is now, and it's ever evolving. I mean, who would have thought 20 years ago? I'm pretty sure the folks back in the 60s, 70s, didn't think that we would be able to send messages on these things. Whereas, yep, we have, and I have my iWatch here, which I did turn it off so Siri wouldn't, show. Who would have, and certainly I hear it from my parents all the time that, in my day, we didn't have the computers that you guys had. We had typewriters. We had to go to the library and search through stacks of books to do research. Whereas today, how to blah, 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 or I need information on blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it shows how much the world has changed in the last few decades. And who's to say how much more the world will evolve in the next? It sometimes scares me because it's like, how can I adapt? Will I be able to adapt to the world? But then, I sometimes think of our moms and dads and our grandparents who, when their childhood, they didn't have the tools that they have. But now you see elderly folks on Facebook, elderly folks on YouTube. Oh, but young at heart. I need to choose my words wisely. Young at heart, folks who are young at heart, who are now doing all these things using tech, which they always said, we didn't have this when I was a child. We didn't have this. We didn't have Netflix. So when we wanted to watch shows, we had to turn on those dial TV sets, Yeah. And, and all that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So, but I guess being open minded is my biggest advice. Being open minded. Now, there's no law that said you have to use it. There's no law that said you are mandated to use Siri and Alexa and all these things. It's your choice. Now, if you feel like it will harm you more than good, then don't use it. But if you give it a chance and if you figure out ways that it can be beneficial to you, then by all means learn. And I believe that every day is a learning opportunity. Every day is an opportunity to learn. And I always make this point where I would say learning is not limited to the classroom. We learn from every stimuli that we are that surrounds us. School, videos, other people. We learn every day from all sorts of mediums, a myriad of sources. I wouldn't have known about your podcast had it not been for Instagram. I wouldn't have known about the speech pathology field had it not been for searching, about ASHA, about the NSA. No, not that one. The NSA, the National Stuttering Association. I'm a huge fan of their work. So NSA, if you are watching, if you want to sponsor me for one of your conferences, hint, hint, let me know. Let me know. I would love to. And I've seen a lot of their events on social media, and I'm like, one of my dreams is to attend the National Stuttering Association conference. That is one of my dreams. One of my dreams is to go and say, I'm amongst my people. I am part of this community. So Pedro, if you have any strings or if you have any pull, with them, or do me a solid, please.
I know a lot of people, Ignacio. I know a lot of people. So let me just write that down on my little notepad.
Hint.
Hint, hint, wink, wink. All right. I thank you so much for that. Now, here is a deep question. Woo, it is deep. I ask everybody. The answers are split right down the middle. I respect everyone's answer. So here we go. So do you think it is okay to stutter, or is it important to keep chasing the fluency gods?
I feel like I don't want to hide who I am. I don't want to hide who I am. I don't want to be fake. I mean, yes, I strive to speak as fluently as I can. Now, I say as I can, meaning I know I'm not going to reach 100% fluency, but I will be fluent enough to be able to communicate my needs, wants, to those around me. But it doesn't mean that I completely erase, erase who I am. On Facebook, I am part of this stuttering support group. I'm a part of a couple of them, a couple of these groups, and somebody posed the question: if scientists invented a pill that will completely cure stuttering, would you take it? And, that was a deep question for me because, it's sort of like you're telling me I'm going to erase a part of me that's been a part of me all my life. It's yes, my stutter is not all that I am, but it is part of who I am. Telling me if I wanted to take a pill, to erase my stutter is sort of like saying, you're telling me to take a pill to erase my heritage, to erase my cultural background. And to that, I will say absolutely not. Because I am a stronger person because of the experiences that I went through, that are directly to my stutter, and other harsh experiences related to other things. But I'm a stronger person because of who I am. And at the beginning of our interview, I said that sometimes I felt like I was the only person in the universe, and I sometimes when I was younger, I looked to God and I said, Lord, why me? After growing up and maturing and becoming educated, I found that maybe this is my purpose. Maybe this is my purpose to say, hey, you know what? I have a stutter, but I can still make it in the world. I can still communicate. I can still let my voice be heard. I can let my thoughts and my voice be heard. And I tell the same thing to those around me, not just my clients, but all around me, that you are worthy. No matter what adversity you may be facing, you are worthy. You were put on this earth for a reason. Now, what that reason is, that's for you to figure out. But I'm realizing more and more that perhaps I was put on this path, perhaps to teach, perhaps to help teach, like what you are doing with your podcast. I may not be as cool as to make a podcast. I'm not that cool yet. Pedro, you are cool you are #awesome and wonderful for doing this. I haven't found my niche yet, but it could be that if someone from ASHA or the NSA or any other stuttering support organization, yeah, please put my name down. Yeah, perhaps my purpose is to, yes, become a speech language pathologist, but maybe to be a public speaker, to share that, hey, you know what, despite whatever adversity you may be dealing with, well, guess what? Tomorrow's going to be a brand new day. Tomorrow's going to be a wonderful new blessing. And it's another opportunity for you to do great things. And, I look to the past of people, not just with stuttering, but with all sorts of obstacles, whatever they may be, but they were able to do it. They were able to make huge impacts and are icons in the world. They were able, despite whatever obstacle they were facing, they were able to get through it and become their ultimate, become greatness, which then inspires the next generation, whatever the people in the next generation are facing. It inspired them. And then guess what? It's a domino effect, you see. It's a domino effect, because by doing these podcasts and other opportunities for people like us to speak out, it inspires other people who stutter to say, you know what? I felt the same thing that guy from Saipan felt. I feel the same thing that the other guests on your podcast felt. What makes me an exception? What makes me an anomaly? What makes me an outlier? Nothing should. It should all of us who have gathered our courage to speak up, we want to encourage others to gather their courage to speak out, because then the world will become more aware, as I'm so glad that you pointed out. The world will become more educated. The world will become more accepting. The world will become more tolerant. And in the end, the world will become a better place. And it all starts with awareness and education, because education and awareness drives actions. Then those actions will drive plans. Those plans will then drive policies and laws and protections. And those laws, policies, and protections will then drive people to say, I'm confident enough to do this. And then that will drive the workforce, the education field, innovations. So it's a domino effect. No. A ripple effect. It's a ripple effect. Sorry. It's a ripple effect. One drop spreads and becomes this sort of tsunami effect, that will build and build. And yes, I will say that in the last how many decades, a lot of positive changes have been made. And I'm so thankful to the advocates, to the lawmakers, to the researchers, to the scientists, to all those that have played a part in bringing the topic of speech and language, not limited to just stuttering, but the speech-language pathology field to the forefront. The contributions of the past helped us to where we are presently. Now we in the present time need to pay it forward for the next generation, for the future, and then in our hopes that they will then pay it forward and forward and forward. And I guess that's one of the biggest motivators for me to head into this field. That and job security, and of course advancement. Please write my name down for speaking engagements. Those sort of things. So I have my extrinsic reasons to head into this field, but I also have my intrinsic reasons. And my intrinsic reasons really stem from my experiences as a child up to my teenage years, my young adulthood, and now my mid-adulthood. I'm reaching my midlife, But, it's these things that play a part, and we all play a part in how the world will progress and improve. And so I hope that whoever is listening, particularly those persons who stutter, just know that, hey, you are more than enough. You're not just enough, you're more than enough. Now, it's up to you now to carry the torch into the future, because at some point, folks like us, we will no longer be here. Yeah, we will no longer be here, to put it bluntly. But now it's up to you, the next generation, to pay it forward, carry the torch, bear the torch, and light the future. Yes,
Ooh.
much like how the people of the past lit the future for us. Now it's our turn to light the way, and lead the way. Not just light the way, but lead the way. Yeah.
How awesome! Now you, with that awesome answer, you had answered 3 extra questions, so now we have 2 questions left.
Okay.
That was an awesome answer. Okay, so, here's a big one. What has your stutter taught you?
It taught me to be strong. Okay, sorry. Let me start again. It taught me many things. It taught me to be strong. It taught me that life can be hard, but no reason to give up. It taught me to be determined because I have goals, just like everybody else. I have goals. I want to achieve said goals. It taught me to be patient with myself because days that are hard where I couldn't speak, I just had to be patient. It taught me to be accepting of myself. Taught me to be confident that despite stumbling on my words every day, look at what I've done. Look at what I've achieved. And what more could I achieve if I stick to the mission and, speaking military terms, mission. It taught me that I'm enough. I don't need to be a duplicate of someone. I don't need to be a replica. Because you know what? There is only going to be one Ignacio Joaquin Cosico Dela Cruz. There's only going to be one Pedro Pena. Well, maybe there's two because you're Pedro Pena the third. So, So maybe there's others, but my point is you are the only one. I'm the only one. And once this limited edition is gone, then that's it. So, there is this quote that's it really puts things into perspective. Live every day like it's your last. And I think about the people who have passed on. All the people that have passed on. I sometimes think, did they achieve before they left this earth and went up and joined the good Lord? Did they achieve all that they wanted to achieve? Did they accomplish their goals? What did they go through? And it makes me think about life, because then I want that when hopefully when I'm very old and very gray and I leave this earth, that I can say, hey, I did it. I did all that I wanted to do. I accomplished what I wanted to do. Okay. I hope heaven is ready for more noise, because I'm the big noise, as the song goes. I'm not the big noise from Winnetka. I'm the big noise from Saipan. So thank you, Bette Midler, but I know I'm not from Winnetka. I'm from Saipan. So the big noise from Saipan.
All right, that is awesome. So here is our last question, but hold on. I got some tissue, because it is a powerful question, and I ask everyone, and it is a powerful question. So here we go. Ignacio Dela Cruz, what advice would you give to your younger self?
What I would tell my younger self: you got this. You got this. Yes, there will be challenging times ahead. You will. There are certain choices that I wish you could make differently, like start investing in Bitcoin and an Apple. Start investing. Start investing in that 401k. But no. What I would tell my younger self is, you're gonna do wonderful things. You're going to meet wonderful people. Yes, there will be trials and tribulations ahead. That's typical of everyone. That's typical. No one's life is perfect, but you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You're going to do great things. And you know what? Keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eyes on your 4 eyes, because I wear glasses, so my 4 eyes. Keep your eyes on the prize, because you know what? You're going to get there. And I still tell myself this. You're going to get there. You're not there yet. You're not there yet. You're going to get there. You're going to get there one day. But you just got to keep climbing. Keep moving forward. And when I graduated from my master's program, I was surprisingly I was voted class speaker by my class. So I gave the speech on graduation day, and I told my class that despite all the rough road that we've been through to get to our graduation day, but in the larger scheme of life, we are going to rock it. We're going to do wonderful things. We're going to we are smarter. We are stronger. We are, more successful. And we're going to do wonderful things. So that's what I would tell my younger self when I want to tell my younger self in the resource room across the table from the speech pathologist. I want to whisper in my younger selves I want to whisper in the ears of my younger self. You are going to be great. You got this. You got this. Keep going. And because if you were to tell me when I was that age that I would become the first CNMI licensed speech-language pathologist, I would say, huh? I would say that. If you were to tell me that I would, when I was younger, that I would be the first representative of the CNMI to an international conference, the Young Pacific Leaders Conference, I was the first representative of the CNMI, the first one. I wouldn't believe you. If you were to tell me when I was that young kid that I would go to Princeton University and attend the Junior Statesman of America program, I wouldn't believe you. Because at that time, I didn't think I could do it until I gained the confidence through my therapy services, the love of my family and friends, that I said, hey, you know what? Give me a chance. We all just need a chance. We all just need a chance in the door. Now, once we get in the door, watch us thrive. But we just need the chance. Just give us the opportunity and the chance to prove ourselves. And let me tell you, once we get that, you don't need to hold our hand. Let us go and let us thrive. Similar to the way that I just needed that opportunity to go to college. I just needed the opportunity to pursue my master's degree. And now the opportunity to pursue my doctoral degree. I just needed that opportunity to prove myself, to show myself. And here I am. And the same goes with everyone else. We just need the opportunity to show how great we can be.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, for at the time I started going to speech therapy, I was 4th grade. So that would have been a lot for a 9-year-old. I think I turned 9 in 3rd grade, around 9 or 10 in the 4th grade. It would have been a lot for a young child to really process. But looking back at the journey that I've gone through and still remembering all the emotions I felt, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Aside from telling my younger self, invest in the stocks now, because the world is going to get expensive. I'll tell you this, the world in 2024 is going to get really expensive. Start investing now. Perhaps I would have told my teenager, my teenage self, hey, why don't you look closely into the military service? I would have told my undergraduate self, put your application in for law school. Put the application in. I could have told my teenage self, my undergrad self. I would have told my teenage self that, why don't you join those clubs that you wanted to, but I was too afraid to join because I was so afraid to speak up. We can't cry over spilled milk, as the saying goes. We can't cry over that, but we learn. We learn from those lessons. We learn from those experiences. We learn from all that. Now, where do we go from here is up to us. We can't go back in time. I wouldn't go back in time anyway to change things, because everything that I'm experiencing now, everything that the strength that I feel now was because of what happened in the past. But where do we go from here is the real question. Where do I go from here? And I will tell you this, Pedro, I plan to keep going forward and collecting achievements. I plan on making more relationships. I plan on showing that a small island boy in the middle of the Pacific can do wonderful things, can achieve wonderful things, can make it through difficult times, sure, but I can make it out, and whether or not I aim high, fly, fight, and win, or I can be all that I can be. For any of the recruiters watching, I did take my ASVAB test, so just let me know. Which I'm glad I got the score that I did. Whether or not my stutter will never be the wall. Will never be the wall. It will be a friend. It will be a friend, and my friend will be with me to the end of my days. But this friend will not be a barrier, a wall, a blockade. It will not be that. Nor will it be all that I am. It is part of who I am, and I will never change that. It is part of who I am. It is part of my identity. It is part of who Ignacio Joaquin Cosico Dela Cruz is. But it's not going to be all that I am. I heard that there is some debate, whether to use people first language, or some choose to be called by the disability. For me, myself, and I choose person first. So that's why throughout this interview, you've heard me saying, you've never heard me say stutterer, or, you've always heard me say person who stutters, persons with, because for me, I am a person with goals and ambitions, accomplishments, trials, tribulations. I'm all that. But I just happen to be a person who stutters. I'm not, because by telling me that I'm a stutterer, you're reducing all that I've done into one thing. When that one thing, my stutter, is only one facet of who I am. So I prefer to be labeled as a person who stutters, person with stuttering, because I am a person with all this, but I just happen to stutter. As simple as that. Well, maybe not as simple, but as plain as I can say it, that's it.
Wow, it's just awesome. It's just awesome. And so I want to tell you that we have been talking for 2 hours and 42 minutes, but it's like zoom. I've had the best conversation with you. You are truly a bright light in our community. And I truly believe there's healing in sharing. So I want to wholeheartedly thank you for a wonderful conversation.
Thank you and thank you as well for graciously inviting me on this space, on your podcast. Again, this is my first ever podcast that I've ever been invited to. This is the first time anyone's ever said, "Hey, come on my show." This is the first time. So, which was exciting, but both, my first one. It's always the initial, right? But I'm glad that, if my story can inspire even just one person who stutters to say, I can do it. If my story can help even just one person who stutters say that about themselves, then you know what? I've accomplished that mission.
How cool. Yes. And the whole goal is that I want to show the world how awesome that we are, because we are amazing, courageous, creative, resilient, and resourceful. And so, yes, I am truly blessed to have podcasting as a platform to showcase to the world how amazing that we are. And here is a cool part. So I am now in 141 countries. Woo, Pedro has expanded to some other countries. 141 countries on 6 continents. And so I want to ask you the big question. If any of my awesome, listeners from all over the world, if they want to reach out to you, what is the best way to have that handled?
Sure. So, if anybody wants to reach out, if any viewer wants to reach out, you can write to me. My email address is Ignacio DLC Saipan @gmail.com. And my Instagram handle, and if you just give me one quick second, can I turn on my phone? I forgot my own IG handle. But I know. Okay, so it's Kino KINO DLC 670. So that's who I am on IG. And and if you could, if you would like, you could post it on the comments portion of the video once it goes up to YouTube. But yes, so it is Kino, KINO DLC 670. So that's who I am, and I look forward, to meeting more people in our community. And if they want me to share my story with them or seek advice, both as a person who stutters, but also as an SLP, please do reach out, and I look forward to expanding my network around the world. I mean, wow. I would love to have more friends in other countries, because then I can say, I want to visit. I want to visit. So, any viewers in, Australia or, Europe. Oh, I've always wanted to go to Europe, I swear. I would love to meet you. And again, if there's anyone from, ASHA, the NSA, any, support, groups, support or organizations that, you happen to be planning a conference, you want a guest speaker to fill a time spot, let me know. Let me know.
So I will have those hyperlinks and post them onto the podcast show notes. And so just one more time, I want to tell you, thank you. I've had the best time. It is almost 9 p.m. over here in Texas. And so I know it's like...
It's lunchtime here. It's almost 12 noon. It's almost lunchtime.
Okay.
So,
And so I've had the best time talking with you. I hope you have an awesome week. Take care, be well, and stay safe.
Thank you.
If you like this podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you for listening, and we will talk again.